are live. Welcome to the first of our 2019 fall training schedule. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for getting that very blatant cue to applause. I appreciate it. My name's JD Brake. We are talking with Amy Sherman from LeakSmart today. This is a very, very important training that we're going to do today, talking about the most important products in our industry, and that is LeakSmart detection and protection. Because you'll, I'm sure, say later on in the presentation just how big of a pain a water damage claim is for the insurance company and for the homeowner. Amy's going to be doing the training tonight, and before she gets going, just a couple housekeeping items. This is a live training, so that means we want some participation. Whether you're here live or you're online out there watching this, you can submit questions in the chat box. You can also, the more questions you ask, the better training this is going to be for everybody. So also there's other windows with source material, some handouts that you can download online. So please submit your questions and we will get those to Amy as soon as possible. And be sure to also, if you have any questions on the products later on, afterwards, you can go to jacksonsystems.com right now and these products are available. We're going to talk about some new stuff coming out too. So Amy, why don't you take it away? And again, guys, do not be shy to ask any questions at all. So take it away, Amy from LeakSmart. Give her a round of applause. Yeah!
Thanks very much, JD. Well, I'm very happy to be here representing LeakSmart. I'm actually from LeakSmart in Cleveland. That's where we're based out of. So I came all the way here to see you guys and present some information for you. And so just a little bit about our training today. So we have a presentation that I'll start out with, and that's going to introduce you to the products, get you familiar with our offerings, and then I'll actually set up a system here for you to see so you can see how it works. We'll break it down, we'll put it back together, so it won't just be kind of only informational for you. You'll actually get to see how the product works. So, so we're going to sort of start out with who is LeakSmart to begin with, just a little bit about us. We'll talk about our product families, and we'll kind of move through the presentation that way. Has anyone heard of Waxman Industries? A few people, that's great, fantastic. So, and LeakSmart, that's perfect. Waxman's been around for quite a while, nearly 90 years, based out of Cleveland, Ohio. So a manufacturer of kitchen and plumbing products for a long time. And being in that field, as you can imagine, when somebody is in your home and has a leak event occur, that's a pretty drastic event that happens. So, everybody's experienced that, everybody has a story, and so did the team at Waxman. And so they kind of decided, hey, let's do something about this. They got their best minds together and created LeakSmart. So that's where LeakSmart kind of came from. So as far as the LeakSmart products go, it's good to think about us as having two separate product families. So one of them is going to be kind of a simple, easy to install appliance-based protection, which is what we call our wired appliance kits. And these appliance kits are not smart home devices, so they are strictly going to be a controller that is mounted to the wall. You plug in a valve and a water sensor at that location of the appliance. So we have a kind of a little water heater up here, so you can see what that would generally look like. And that's just going to be local protection of that appliance, which is great. On the other hand, we have another family of products which we call our smart home products. Now that's going to be a more total home solution, so it's a little more expensive, but it gives you a lot more protection over your home. And in the end, after you may have kind of protected 3 or 4 different appliances, it makes more sense actually to switch over to a smart home system. And then not only do you have individual appliance protection, but you can really cover your entire home and do cool things like turn the water on and off from your phone and that kind of stuff. So today we're going to talk about both of those different product families. So we'll start kind of from our kind of entry-level products. These are these appliance kits. On the left there you see the water heater kit. I have one up here we can kind of play around with and look at. I'll bring this out so you can sort of see what the packaging is. So this guy has a controller that's packaged here. It comes with a water sensor, a leak sensor, and a valve. This is a 3/4 inch NPT valve that is automatically closed once water hits your leak sensor. So just one thing I'd like to point out, since we're on the topic of these guys, the leak sensor here that comes in the kit it comes originally wrapped in plastic. So of course you want to discard that plastic away. And then there's also a paper sleeve on this guy. So you might be inclined to throw away the paper sleeve as well. But what we'd like you to do is leave the paper sleeve on the sensor. That just protects this from debris, other things hitting the sensor, and causing it to give us a false positive. Obviously, if this gets wet, you can either let it dry out, or you can simply take the sensor here, wrap it in a paper towel, you're good to go. So that's kind of a bit of extra information on these kits. You can also daisy chain these sensors together. If you'd like to put more than one sensor around the location of the appliance, you'll see there's 2 plugs here on this guy, so you can do that. Another popular appliance kit that we have is for a washing machine. So that's probably the number 2 appliance that is going to cause the most damage as far as insurance claims in your home. So for that appliance kit, as we see in the presentation, it just has 2 different hose bib valves that literally just screw into your hot and cold water supplies for your washing machine, and then your supply lines screw into those valves. So the same concept is those get plugged into a control board, a leak sensor on the ground. So if your washing machine supply line comes loose, you can feel safe and feel protected, especially if you have one of those, a laundry room on a 2nd floor. Imagine just the amount of damage that can be done while you're away at work, the amount of water that can pour out, ruin ceilings and all kinds of things as it's flowing through there. Has anybody here in the room or online experienced that type of thing with a water heater or a washing machine, either themselves or someone they know? Somebody does? Oh, it's due. Yeah, watch out. So typically, everyone has a story about either with themselves or someone that they know has had a leak event occur in their home. If it's not the water heater or washing machine, it could be a sink, a supply line to a sink that comes loose. And even being away during the day at work, the amount of damage that can be done, the number of things that you can lose that can't be replaced is kind of incredible. So a simple solution like this or a smart home product can really help you out there. On the other hand, we do have our smart home system. This is probably what most of you are kind of logged in and come here to see today. So our smart home solution is going to include a hub that gets to be kind of the brains of the system. Our hub, I have one up here in front of the classroom, so you can kind of see this guy is just a little white box that's wireless, plugs in just for power, but the kind of the network is a wireless network. So that becomes the brain of your system. And we have a few different methods of doing water control on your water main. So rather than turning off water to an individual appliance, you're going to select one of our different options for controlling water at the water main just after the main shut off. So one of those could be what I have here mounted on this display is our snap-on product. So if you are in a location where you're not able to cut into the pipe, you can simply snap on the controller here that goes over the existing ball valve or gate valve. So it kind of clamps on over here. It has an adapter as well, depending on what type of valve you're controlling. And then right now we're in the open position. I'm just going to click closed here so you kind of see what that looks like. And within 5 or 6 seconds, your valve will be completely closed. And now you're home, instead of having water flooding out from wherever the location was from your leak, now it stops that. You can go take care of the issue and get back to your system. So this kind of this is our snap valve controller. Then we also have 2 versions that will be cut into the pipe. So the existing version that's out there today is this guy. So this is a controller on top of a full port ball valve, all brass construction. And this guy would get cut in just after the water main. And it does a similar thing where if a sensor detects a leak, that valve is going to automatically close for you. Coming soon, we have our next generation of valve controller that has an integrated flow meter as well. So that has this little bit of an extra piece on here. So in addition to being able to close your water and protect your home based on detections from sensors, you'll also be able to receive metrics and information on your water usage and that kind of thing.
Hi, Amy. I have a question online from Rod Kimball. He wants to know what happens if my internet goes down.
That's a great question. So with our system that you see here in the slide, so we have kind of our home protection. The hub that you see there, it does have a Wi-Fi radio, so it communicates out so you can receive notifications and do remote control from an app. But most importantly, it also has a second radio that's used for, it's called Zigbee, if you're familiar with that protocol. A lot of smart home protocols use Zigbee. And that's a secondary radio that's used between the devices in the home. And that radio does not require internet or Wi-Fi to be working in order for it to protect your home. So the only reason that we use the internet or Wi-Fi connection is strictly to get information to your phone, use it for remote control, but all the protection happens on that in-home Zigbee network. So that's what we got you covered there. So in addition to the valve communicating to the hub, we've got these lovely little LeakSmart sensors. So these sensors will be placed throughout the home. They have 3 AAA batteries, so we make it very easy for a homeowner to replace batteries when it comes time to replace batteries. And if you look at the back of the sensor here, it has 2 gold pins. That's where the leak detection will occur. It has a couple of little feet that it stands up on, so you can put it on a surface. As soon as that surface is wet with water, it will detect that leak and send a signal out to the hub in the home. The cool thing about these sensors is they can be configured to do protection activity. So let's say I have one of these guys installed under my bathroom sink. When water hits this, I want that to close my valve immediately. If I have this maybe installed in an HVAC condensation pan or next to a sump pump, I still want to know if there's water there, but I don't want the valve to close. So in that case, we would configure this as a detect-only system. So we kind of have ways for you to measure where there's water. We can notify you, and if it's important enough, we can close the valve for you. The last thing about these guys is they also have a temperature sensor, which is really great if you're putting these in areas that are prone to freezing temperatures. You can place the leak sensor, it will detect water, and it will also detect, you can specify a range. If it falls below a certain temperature, it can notify you that, hey, the temperature in this area is below, and you need to get notified. JD?
Yeah, I got a question from Rico. He wants to know how many sensors do you typically see in a home? Like, what's, I guess, the most common number of sensors that you see in a typical home?
So in our initial product kit, let's say, we would suggest at least 3 sensors to get you started, but you really want to consider the areas of the home that are most prone to leaks. So if you have 2 bathrooms, maybe you need a sensor in each bathroom under the sink, maybe you have a sump pump in your system. So I think we generally see around 6 to 9 sensors in the typical home as on average, and then of course we can kind of go up from there. When you're getting into your very large homes, another piece that I have shown on the slide here is our range extender. That's this guy right here. So your LeakSmart range extender is just plugs into the wall here, and it actually boosts the signal strength of the Zigbee communication. So it's not a Wi-Fi booster, but it boosts what's the most important to LeakSmart system, which is that Zigbee radio communication. So if you have a home where you have 4,000 or 5,000 square foot, you might need to add in some range extenders to help boost that signal along. So those are available as well. So talk a little bit about how these products come, just so you can know what to expect when you're ordering these guys. On the left here, we have our Protect by LeakSmart with Flow. This is our new product that's up and coming. I have a version up here for you guys to see. And this is going to be our valve that has still the same, similar to the first valve that I showed you. It does the full port ball valve automatic close, but it has an extra piece attached to it, which is our flow meter. So this particular product is going to give us the same protection with sensors, immediate shut off if a leak is detected, but now in addition to that you have some extra insight as to your water usage. You'll be able to set up alerts when you get close to your maximum daily limit and that kind of stuff, so you can really get better insight into what's happening in your home in addition to protecting your home. So this is up and coming very soon. In October we'll be able to start getting these products in and get those extra metrics. Question?
Why aren't you going to sell just the valve itself?
So the question in the room is, why are we not going to just sell this guy, the valve, and the flow meter? So that's a great question. So the reason behind that is LeakSmart is really focused on protecting the home. So the best way to protect the home is to find the quickest way to turn off the water, because minutes turn into hours, turn into days in some cases where water is leaking through the home. If we can turn off a leak in under 5 seconds, the impact that has versus taking the time to try to decide if it's just a normal amount of flow versus abnormal amount of flow is just invaluable. So we're sticking with the philosophy of protecting first, and so that's why rather than selling it just as a flow-based solution, it will include the sensors to kind of cover those key areas for you.
What senses I can see something inside that pipe. What is that senses the water flow?
So this is a flow meter with an impeller that as water is flowing through the system, the impeller rotates and informs the logic board inside of your control head as to the flow rate of the water.
Is there any effect on pressure at all?
Nope. No, it doesn't. It won't affect anybody negatively in terms of pressure. It doesn't slow down. All of the testing that we've done, it's passed. It's been totally fine. So you shouldn't have any problems with the pressure. Was there another question?
No, I was just going to see if you could repeat his original question, how that came up.
Oh, yes.
Just for the online.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, so the question was, does this impeller-based flow meter, would that impact pressure in your home? So the answer to that is no. We've done testing. It won't negatively impact your water pressure in your home. So really the thing about LeakSmart is that we have this kind of variety of solutions. So we have kind of, no home is really one size fits all, no customer is one size fits all. We want you to have the ability to find a solution that's going to be able to help your homeowner protect their home. That's really the message here. So in this Protect by LeakSmart with Flow, this will come in a kit that will include the valve with the flow meter and 3 sensors along with the hub that's required for the system. So that's coming soon in 2 different sizes, 3/4 inch and 1 inch. On the other hand, for the products that are out there right now today, you have the Snap version of the valve controller or the LeakSmart shutoff valve that are available in kind of like an a la carte format. So they come in pieces and parts, and you take those parts and build your system. So you'll order a valve, whichever valve you choose, and then you'll have to order your hub and however many sensors that you need for your system to get your kind of your LeakSmart system put together. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think it's a very important kind of differentiator for LeakSmart, and that is the idea that we cover your home with this kind of 2-tier approach as far as radio goes. So all of our devices in the system are going to communicate on that Zigbee frequency. So you can see that indicated by the yellow lines there. Now, if your internet goes down, those Zigbee messages are still getting back and forth. So our devices have battery backup as well. So if your power goes out, you're still protected. So we all know that internet can be shaky, especially in certain regions, and We don't want to rely upon internet in order to protect your home. In this case, if your internet is down, the worst that's going to happen is you might miss a notification. Your home is still protected. You would not be able to do remote control, but beyond that, you're really covered kind of in a true 24/7 fashion to protect your home. So a little bit about our app, since we're talking smart home here. Our app is very simple, easy to use for the customer. We give everything that the customer needs in the very first home screen. So you can see the sensors are listed there. As I mentioned earlier, sensors can be set to protect mode or detect mode. So you can see that those will be listed out for the customers to see. You have remote control option of your valve. So if you're running out the door on your vacation and you've forgotten to turn your water off, it's just as easy as opening your LeakSmart app and closing that water valve. So you can get that going right away. You can add multiple contacts to the app. So if you have a neighbor or another family member that you want to be notified when an event has occurred, there's plenty of space to be able to go in and add people to that list. You can also choose between text and email notifications. So if you just want an email, that's perfectly fine as well. Now on the other side, with the flow meter integrated into our product, we're going to have additional information like your daily usage limits, daily, monthly, and weekly limits. So you can also set alerts based on those limits. So if you're getting close to let's say your daily usage, you can get an alert, say, hey, maybe I need to go in there and actually turn off my water if nobody's home, that kind of thing. So we're still going to have the protection with the sensors, and in addition to the sensor-based protection, the flow meter will actually give you that insight into what you're using, and you'll be able to go back and see, hey, was water running in the middle of the night? Certainly nobody was using water in the middle of the night. Then you know you have a problem with a leak that's not near a sensor. So let's say you've got a slab leak or something is leaking in an area that just is never going to hit a sensor. This extra insight from the flow meter will give you that information, and you can track that down. Question?
Compatible with Alexa or Google devices?
So the question is, was it compatible with Google and Alexa? Yes, we do have integrations with both Google and Alexa, so you can even do voice commands and voice activated opening and closing your valve with those vendors. So we do have some integrations available. So, thanks. So now kind of the topic on what makes the most sense as far as promoting these products to different customers. So if I just start again with kind of that entry-level appliance kit. So we have, if you're doing a water heater installation, it's a very easy upsell to add in a valve and the controller. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and then you can have that peace of mind in addition to getting a new water heater installed, that area, which is the #1 cause of preventable leaks there in the system, can be protected as you're doing the installation. Then if you have areas, maybe multifamily, apartments, condos, where you can't put a valve on a water main, maybe you can use an appliance-based protection for those areas as well. And consider where, in some cases, if protection of appliances is required by code, then you're covered with that. Question?
Got a question from my boy Frank. I just saw in San Antonio. What's up, Frank? He asked, have you improved the signal strength on the sensors? He had a sheetrock construction house that could not get more than 2 bars when the LeakSmart hub was in the room 10 feet away. My house is only 15 away, and the signal is weak, 3 bars. So the product signal strength hasn't been modified. What we typically find for Zigbee is there's usually another culprit. If it's not building material, it could be another radio that's noisy in the area and that kind of thing. One thing I would consider is if this is maybe a hardware-based problem. So in an environment where it's fairly open and easy for radio to communicate, if you're having signal strength issues, it might just be a matter of getting a new piece of hardware. It could be a defect or something like that. But in general, you should be able to get, if you take a 1,500 square foot home,
and your construction doesn't include a lot of metal or mesh or those kinds of things, you should be able to get away with not needing a range extender, being able to put a hub centrally located in your home, and having a decent amount of signal strength to your sensors. So for that, I would say maybe go do some more troubleshooting in terms of the hardware itself, and then consider the other things in the area that could be affecting the radio. Sometimes when, if a hub is very close to a very chatty device, for instance, if the hub is right next to a Wi-Fi router, then they can kind of fight against each other. So, question?
I have a LeakSmart in my house, and was having similar issues to Frank, and I moved my hub, and that helped a little bit, but then my hub's on the main floor, and I've got a basement, and down where my sump pit is, because I've had floods in the basement because my sump pumps have failed. The signal strength was pretty poor, so I had to buy a range extender. So definitely understand what Frank was dealing with there. So try moving the hub first, because it did help a little bit.
Thanks, Tom.
Good luck summarizing.
Yeah, so what Tom's advice was he had a similar issue. Moving the hub did help a little bit, but in the end, Tom did have to go ahead and get a range extender for LeakSmart and add that into the system to improve the kind of the overall strength of the signal to the sensor. So with Zigbee, nothing is a perfect science. It's very hard to visualize certain things that can be kind of impeding radio, other things that can be chatty. So sometimes it's a little bit of a kind of test and find the right solution, the right position, and you may need one of those extenders in the mix as well. So as far as the smart home system approach, as you may imagine, those of your customers who are very into the kind of smart home technology, if they have smart thermostats in their homes or smart smoke detectors and CO sensors, so you can kind of pick those people out when you walk up to a home and they have a Ring doorbell. They might be a good candidate for the LeakSmart system because they're already pretty excited about controlling things from their phone, and they're familiar with the idea of smart devices in their home. So that's usually kind of an easy sell. Once you introduce the product, not only is it great to say, hey, we can offer you a lot of protection with the system, but also it's kind of some fancy bells and whistles with regards to controlling your water main from your phone, and with a new product here, being able to see those metrics of your water usage and how that appears over the days and weeks and months. Question in the room.
So you say that if the slide said no Wi-Fi, it's okay, no power, it's okay. The valves actually have batteries in them that'll close if the power goes out?
They do. So the question was, if since I mentioned the system can work without power, how does that work with the valve? And so the answer to that is the valves all have battery backup as well. So there's 4 AA batteries that go into each one of these valve control heads. So if you have no power, you'll get that valve to close even without that with the battery backup. So thanks for asking that question.
They're normally plugged in now, just to an outlet?
Yes, so they are normally plugged in, so you don't want to, as a rule, run it on battery power alone. So keep it plugged in, battery as the backup. And you will find that within the app, you'll be notified as your batteries are getting low to any one of these sensors or the valves. So you'll be able to keep on top of that and replace those batteries.
Hand them the valve so they can see where the batteries go.
There you go. See, there's a little back up there. You guys can, yeah, if you want to take a look at that, get your hands on it. So for those of you who are online, we can just take this control head off of the valve. And there's a little battery compartment right over here. So just unscrew that, put your 4 batteries in there, and then you can plug this guy back in. Of course, it doesn't matter which direction you plug the valve into when you put the control head back on there. That'll work for you. So the other things to consider are people who have vacation rentals, snowbirds, people with second homes. So this is kind of a nice product to be able not only to remotely control, open, close your water, but also to be able to protect those properties when when nobody's in there. So in some cases, people have had a lot of damage done to their homes just because they've been away. Let's say they left their water running for gardening purposes and whatnot, and a lot of devastation can come from months of water just flowing into the home. One of the most important things is kind of how do we find more information? So there's a lot of resources. LeakSmart wants to make it very easy for you and for your customers, for homeowners to kind of learn about the product. So of course, LeakSmart.com is probably the easiest thing to remember. Just head to LeakSmart.com and you can kind of learn about the product or remind yourself of the different offerings that we have, since we do have a very comprehensive portfolio of products. So that's a good place to go and remind yourself, what do they have there? We also have brochures that are available. We have brochures that you can hand out to your homeowners, to your customers. And then if you go to YouTube, there's also a LeakSmart channel on YouTube, and we have a variety of videos there that you can watch, installation videos and other materials. In addition to the LeakSmart.com, there's also a LeakSmart Pro website, and so you can go on there. That will require you to register for an account, and you can get set up with a Pro account there and get access to additional training and more information, some more marketing materials and things on LeakSmartPro.com. So as we've, question.
Sorry, I wonder if I could spot. I got a question from Frank Powell. He wants to know can you use additional sensors in the Hardwired kits?
That's a good question. So you can add up to about 4 or 5 different sensors in the Hardwired kits. So there are plugs to daisy chain those. So those can be ordered as kind of an add-on piece. So if you have a location where you need more than just that 6 to 8 inches of coverage, you can add in additional sensors to that kit as well. So thanks for asking. So as we've been talking, we've mentioned a few reasons why this is good for your business as a contractor to help your customers. And right now, this is a relatively new product category for a lot of people. So even myself, before I started, I wasn't truly aware of the potential for doing this kind of control in my home. And so you're sort of on that leading edge right now of this technology. So the more you kind of get familiar with it, the more comfortable you are with it, you're going to be able to bring your customers something that nobody else may even know about yet. So that gives you kind of a leg up there. After all, you are kind of that trusted advisor for your homeowner. So you can walk in, maybe you're there to solve another issue for them, but you can, you have that relationship and you can say, hey, you just had your floors redone. You might want to consider, protecting that nice new hardwood floor by adding in a system like this, and that could really make a difference for you. As we mentioned before, it's quite scalable. So depending on your customer, you add in a couple of range extenders. You can really put this in some larger homes, and with that typically comes more expensive, furnishings and things like that. If you have a basement movie room and your kitchen sink's right above that or something like that, the potential for damage there is huge, and something just as simple as this can really save you a lot of heartache. Question?
You just mentioned multiple range extenders. How many do you have?
Good question. The question was, how many range extenders can you have in the system? And right now with our current hub, there's 2 slots for range extenders. So you can have 2 in the current version. As far as overall devices, you can have 32 different kind of attachments and pieces to the hub. Of course, the valve counts as 1. So doing the math, if you have 2 range extenders, then you have about 29 sensors as is really your max limit for adding in and kind of beefing up that system. There was a question earlier about integrations. So as I mentioned before, Google and Alexa, Google Home Hub integrations are available. In addition to Google Nest, some integrations available there. We also do operate on other companies' hubs. If your home already has a Samsung SmartThings system, for example, the LeakSmart can integrate with Samsung SmartThings and become kind of a controller in their smart home system as well. In that case, you would not be using our hub, but rather being kind of a part of that particular solution there. Another thing I'd like to mention is, as you're speaking with your homeowners, consider what possibilities are out there for discounts on insurance. So many insurance companies will provide either a rebate or a discount if the homeowner puts in a leak detection or protection system. And because it varies so much from place to place and company to company, it's always advisable to have the homeowner contact their agent and find out what might be possible. And consider in some cases, if a homeowner has actually put in a claim due to a leak event, the insurance company may actually require them to go ahead and add in a detection or a leak protection system before they'll even cover them again. So kind of keep in mind that kind of insurance angle as well. So before I switch over to kind of the how it works portion, do we have any other general questions on the products?
How long does the battery? How long do the sensors usually last for? How long do the batteries and the sensors usually last for?
So the question is, how long do our sensors last, or the batteries and the sensors? So the leak sensors are going to last about a year, and you'll get, as I mentioned, you'll get notifications as the battery life starts to go down. In the valve itself, because the valve is going to be constantly powered by AC power and the batteries are backup, you'll have a longer battery life out of the valve batteries. In the hub itself, that's a rechargeable lithium battery. So think about that kind of like a laptop. So if you unplug the hub, you'll get about 5 or 6 hours worth of battery from a full charge down. So kind of consider the hub, that's the shortest one, that's the weakest link in your chain there. So if you are in an environment where you lose power frequently, it's probably a good idea to plug the hub into another battery backup source, which may exist in that area anyway. So, question?
I got a question from Dave online. He wants to know what's commonly the most, what's the most common mistake when putting all of this during put together the install and the setup?
Okay, great question. So what typically trips people up is just when you walk into the home, and as we'll see as I build the system up, the devices need to be linked to your homeowner's LeakSmart account. So there can be a challenge there in having your homeowner download the correct app, because LeakSmart has a couple of versions of app out there that we'll take a look at. So sometimes people get tripped up by making sure they have the correct LeakSmart app and getting the customer to register their own account so that when you get to the home to do the installation, all of that's ready to go for you, and you can get in there and link up their devices. So what you don't want to do is link the hub and all of the equipment to your own LeakSmart account, because then there's no kind of way to transfer that over easily without having to repair devices. So that's a common mistake that you want to avoid. All right.
Do they plan on continuing to make the valve without the flow sensor in it too?
Yes. So the question is, will we continue to make the product that's strictly just the valve and no flow sensor? And the answer is yes. So that will still be a product for the LeakSmart system. So one of the other things I'd like to mention is on our valves, whichever valve that you have chosen for your system, these will actually do a maintenance cycle of open and close the valve on their own every once a month or so. And if it fails, it's going to notify you that, hey, we were not able to actually close your valve. So let's say you've got sediment or something kind of clogging up, and your valve goes to close and practice its maintenance cycle. If it can't do that, we know that we won't be able to protect your home, so it's going to alert you to that and make sure that you know what's going on there. So what I'm sharing with you here is a little system that I have set up here on the table, so you can have an idea of what the app looks like and how the controls work. So we have my LeakSmart system open, I have my hub has been renamed to the name of my house. And that's important because that name is actually going to be linked up with all the notifications. So if I don't name that, then I could get a notification from, just the generic name of LeakSmart Hub 3.0 had a leak in the sink. And you're like, ooh. If you're getting that from a customer, you might not know who that is. So it's a good idea to actually name the hub something that's familiar. Then you see the valve is down there. So to remotely control the valve, right now the valve I'm using is this black guy here, just the valve alone, without the flow meter. And so that valve right now is in the open position. So you see the app is open, so I'm just going to quickly close it. And within a couple of seconds there, we had our valve closed. If you're able to hear that, probably not online. So it's a really quick process of having my phone here is connected to the cloud, and I'm able to just remotely control that by communicating to my hub, and then the hub communicates to that valve there. So we'll open that guy back up again. And then you notice I have two sensors listed in my system. I named one of them sink and the other one HVAC. So the sink one is set up as a protect sensor. So that's the one that will automatically close the valve. So just so you can sort of see in real time what it looks like when a leak event occurs. I've got kind of a cup of water over here. I have my leak sensor. If I named them correctly, this will be the one that I had at the sink location, so fingers crossed. So what I'm going to do is just hold up a wet paper towel here to the pins on the leak sensor, and you kind of see how that behaves. So with the cut-in valve there, it's even faster than the snap-on version because it quickly closes. It doesn't have to take the time to rotate, the ball valve arm around or whatnot. So literally within a couple of seconds of the sensor going off, my water is now shut off. So the amount of damage that you can prevent by being that fast at turning off the water is amazing. So, which is one of the reasons why at LeakSmart when we integrate our flow meter, we're still going to rely upon our sensors to provide that level of protection for our home, where we know the key areas that are dangerous. We don't want to wait for a flow meter to try to determine if it's abnormal or not, and then take the time to call me and do all that kind of stuff. By the time all that happens, I could have irreparable damage done. I'm going to be, things could be ruined that I can't replace. So that's where we're sticking with the sensors plus the valve and the flow meter. Tom.
Does it stay closed until you tell it to open back up after an alarm?
So the question in the room is, after it gets triggered, will it stay closed until you open it back up? And the answer is yes. So as you can see, my sensor has resolved. It's no longer triggered in that kind of leak state, but my valve has remained in the closed position because, of course, we want your sensor to dry out. We don't want it to stay wet. The whole purpose is to turn off the water. If you're gone at work, you should get a notification, an email, text message. If you don't get any of those for some reason, let's say your phone is off, when you walk into your home, your water will still be in the off position. So you can go back at that point. And if I click on my events button here, we can see that all of the different events that have been happening. So if you walk into your house and you're not sure why your water is turned off, you'll have a history that's available for you in the app, and you can check that out and say, oh, the sink sensor was triggered and that kind of stuff. Now, since my leak occurred, and now my valve is closed, so I have a choice. Either I can remotely control the app and open it back up from here, or there are buttons right on the front of the the valve that I can control as well. So either way, you can open that back up again. If you were to remotely open your valve back up again, if there's still a leak present in a location, it's going to close it for you again immediately. So, so if you make the mistake of thinking, oh, everything is okay, you open the valve and water hits a sensor, you're going to get closed again. Any questions on kind of the general, how it works? Any lingering questions out there?
Any sort of plumbing I've ever been taught or done was after you do the work
To open the valve slowly to avoid any, sudden increases in pressure, avoiding problems. It sounded like that just opened immediately. Is that normal or?
So it's not. I can kind of do it again. It sounds a lot faster than it's not the immediate within 1 second. It's open. It actually does kind of a rotation of the ball valve in there. So the question was if is there an issue with the valve opening too quickly? And so our engineers have taken into consideration that once water is turned off, there has to be kind of a slow rotation of that ball valve to open so that you don't have kind of a negative effect there. So good question. Was there another question? Okay. So what I'd like to do, since we're kind of going a little bit more technical into this, is to actually disconnect some of these devices and show you what it takes to actually set up a system. So again, like I mentioned, there's a lot of videos on how to do this, so you don't have to remember every single thing that we go through today. There's supporting materials and user guides and stuff for you. I'd just like you to see kind of what it looks and feels like. So I'm just going to use the existing system that I have here. If I wanted to go in and delete a sensor, I could simply click on the sensor. What you notice, as I mentioned earlier, is that it does have a temperature reading, so you can get the relative air temperature of where the sensor is located. In our new, when our new device comes out, there'll be an update to the app where you'll be able to put in limits for that in here, so in this location. And so what I'll do now is I'll just delete the sensor. So you can add and remove sensors as you need to. And we'll do the same thing for our valve and our hub, kind of start over completely fresh on a new system. So once the sensor is deleted, it gets removed completely from the app. JD?
Quick question from Frank. He wants to know how many people can be in control of one system, or how many users can you have on the LeakSmart app?
So that's a great question. So in theory, it's kind of an infinite number of people can be, if you've shared your account information, can be logged in together. So you can have, on one LeakSmart account, it could be logged in to multiple phones if you've given permission for that person to kind of use your account and do that remote control. As far as the contacts, that's up to 20 different people for your alert contacts. But when you're logged in to your LeakSmart account, so if I'm logged in here on my iPod, and I may also be logged in on my iPhone, or maybe somebody in my family is also logged in, you could have multiple people using the same LeakSmart login, and whichever kind of, there's no prioritization. It's just when a command goes out, that command will be responded to if somebody's logged in with that user account. To move things along here, I'm actually going to take and completely remove my hub, and that's going to sort of reset and reboot the system. And so I'm just going to go to the hub itself, and we'll click Delete Hub. And now each one of my devices also has a kind of a hardware reset pattern that we can do as well. So to really start out fresh and kind of give us the full kind of out-of-box experience, I'm going to go ahead and kind of execute those reset procedures. So for the sensor, you just simply press and hold. There's one single button underneath the battery cover. You're going to press and hold that button for 15 seconds to do a reset while the batteries are in there. So just take off the cover and you press and hold that sensor button in there. Then you're going to cycle power to the batteries. So if you have to reset something, if you're trying to get something to pair and it doesn't seem to want to pair, you can always try just a regular old hardware reset of the device and get that going for you. On our valve, so if you've got this valve here, there's a center pairing button. And so if you, on the valve, press the center pairing button 5 times fast, it's going to do a reboot procedure for you. Again, all of this is in your user manuals. So just kind of reset our LeakSmart valve there. And if you haven't been able to see our LeakSmart hub, when I removed it from the system, the light turned purple, indicating that it's been kind of disconnected, lost from the system. It was a blue LED before. So I'm just going to cycle power on the back and turn it back on to red. So that's kind of the out-of-box experience. So you have a solid red LED before anything gets connected to it. So the first thing, since that hub is the brains of your system, we do need to get the hub connected first. So let's say I've taken my my homeowner and I've logged in to their user account on LeakSmart. So again, that's, as I mentioned earlier, that could be a tricky part, is getting the homeowner to download the app and kind of open up that app there. Since we're here, I'll show you what that app looks like. So if you were to actually search for LeakSmart in your app store, so we'll see that there's 3 different apps available. In the Apple App Store, you actually see there's a picture of the Hub 3.0 on there, so that's pretty clear as to what that app is for. If I scroll down, you'll see there's 2 additional apps. One is a black and white icon. That was for our original kind of older version of the hub, which was an Ethernet-based hub, and so that has a different cloud service for it, which necessarily means it had to be a different app. And so if somebody were to download the LeakSmart Classic app and then try to use that to connect to the Hub 3.0, it won't work for them. So the key is to get them to download this, just the regular old LeakSmart with the blue and white icon there. The last one that we've added to the App Store is just a link for LeakSmartPro.com. So this is an app that you guys can add on that will give you access to training videos and those kinds of things. So if you were to download this one, you would very quickly realize, hey, this is not going to be what I use to set up my system. So make sure that you get this kind of, that's blue and white app there. Something that also trips people up is when you register for a LeakSmart account, you do have to check the email that you use to register and verify your account with a link in there. So if they skip that step, so let's say the homeowner, they're doing well, they have the correct app, they sign up for a LeakSmart account, and then they pass their phone over to you to do the setup. If they haven't checked their email to verify that account, you won't be able to log in. So those are little things to look out for. So to get started, we're all logged in correctly here. We're going to go ahead and add the hub. So this part is where I have to make a little connection between my device that I'm using here, my iPod, and the hub itself, because the hub doesn't have a screen where I can type in a Wi-Fi password and things on it. So I'm going to create a link between my phone or iPod here and the hub by clicking over to Settings. Notice I did not close my LeakSmart app. I left the LeakSmart app open, and I'm switching over to Settings. And I'm looking for my LeakSmart hub device, which is, in this case, it's LeakSmart C417. So you want to click on the LeakSmart C417 until you see that the check mark there. If it fights you for some reason, if it doesn't want to connect, there's a reset, a Wi-Fi reset button in the back of the hub, and there's also a pinhole reset button in the back of the hub. So there's a couple of ways to sort of, again, do a reboot of the hardware if you need to. So I've got the hub here selected. I'm going to go back to my LeakSmart app now. And this is the point where you'll need your homeowner's Wi-Fi information. They may want to do this on their own, or they might share it with you. So I'm going to look for my home Wi-Fi. Let's see, we're going to use JS Demo here. And we'll have to put in the password. So what my hub is doing now is it's trying to connect over to my home Wi-Fi account. And so you'll see it's starting to flash red if you were to be looking at the hub itself. Once it turns blue, it means it's made a connection to the internet, so that's great. And then you'll notice the app is now trying to register the hub with my account. So once we get successfully registered here, you'll see a little banner pops down. It says System OK, and here we have our hub with this generic name, LeakSmart Hub 3.0, and we can go ahead and kind of rename that hub and add devices from here. So if for some reason you receive an issue with the registration, it could be that the hub, in some cases maybe it's somebody else's hub that they gave to you. If it's registered to a different LeakSmart account, you won't be able to register a new account until you have that cleared out. So in that event, just call into LeakSmart Technical Support and they can help kind of disassociate that for you. So if, let's say somebody moves into a new home, they say, oh, hey, I've got this cool LeakSmart thing going on here. How do I get that set up? Just call into LeakSmart and they'll help you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a device in. So when I click Add Devices, it gives me a little informational screen. And I'm going to click on the Next button. Basically, it tells me to plug in my devices. So I'm going to go ahead and do my valve first. So I've got my valve here plugged in. Then I can click Next. My LeakSmart Hub is flashing green right now. So I'm going to go ahead and press the center button on my valve to get it to kind of pair up here. And I click Next in my app. What this is going to do is give me visualization into my hub's kind of pairing mode. So as it's learning and trying to find that valve, this mode actually stays active for about 3 minutes. So I can see that my valve has appeared here for me. It says they have one device, one valve in your system. So if that's all I'm doing in this moment, I can actually force this out of pairing mode by clicking all my devices are paired. And the nice thing with this kind of cut-in version of the valve is I'll have immediate use of opening and closing the valve. There's no calibration needed. Another instructional screen telling you to make sure that your signal strength is good. So we'll click OK. And so from here, I have control over my valve. If I were connecting in one of these snap controllers, if I had not already done the calibration step, which is done during the installation, then I would need to calibrate that before I could actually open and close it from the app here. So that's just a process of teaching this guy how much torque and which position it needs to rotate in to actually open and close the handle there. Now, oh, question?
Back to that again. I'm following you there, but when you bring that up, I've got a gate valve in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I touch it to shut it off, it leaks. Is there a way to cancel out that maintenance open and closing?
There's no way to turn off the open-close maintenance cycle on the snap. Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, is there a way to kind of go in and actually turn off or control or whatnot that maintenance cycle that the valve does on a monthly basis? And there's no way right now to go in there and modify that sequence. So, good question. Another question?
You may have answered this already, but if you own several properties, do you want one that goes in each property, you can have all those in one app for each individual property?
That's a great question. So the question is, if I have multiple homes or multiple properties, how do I kind of manage that, considering that the LeakSmart account gets tied to the hub? And so in our current version today, we have a kind of a one-to-one association with a LeakSmart account and a hub. So in that case, you would need to have another, let's say, email LeakSmart account for your other property to actually control that separately. In the future, we're working on revisions to that where you would be able to have multiple properties in the same account. But today, as it stands, it's a one-to-one relationship between a LeakSmart account and a hub. So you can certainly have multiple hubs and homes. We'll just need a unique, different LeakSmart account for each one of those.
Whenever they integrate that, would the homeowner be able to give access to the renter? So for this one property, the owner and renter can have access to it, and this property, the renter can have access to it.
Yes, yes. So the question is, once we integrate multiple properties into a single LeakSmart account, would you be able to share that with somebody else? And the answer is yes. So right now, we have the ability to share alert contacts across accounts. So I may need a different LeakSmart account for my summer home and my regular home, but I can use the same email in both systems. So I can be alerted to the same account for events happening in each home. So we can do a little bit of that now. So let's say a building owner, apartment owner installed a LeakSmart system. They could add their tenant in as an alert contact to that specific system, and then add, so they would get notified if there was a leak event occurring. In the future, we're looking to have a little more than just a notification, and actually have the ability to share a building or an apartment with somebody in that level of control. So, good question. So I'm going to, I kind of started the process here of adding in a leak sensor. So I'm going to click next. Let's say I have batteries in my sensor here. Anytime you click next here, your hub goes into pairing mode. We're flashing green on the hub over there. So I'm going to come up here and click there's a little black button beneath the hub, or beneath the battery cover in the sensor. So you just tap that guy, press and release, and then you'll hear 3 beeps from the sensor indicating that it's trying to pair into the system. And again, we're going to wait and see for this guy to kind of pop up in here. Now you can pair multiple sensors at the same time. So let's say you have a home with 5 sensors. You can sit at their kitchen table and get each one of the sensors kind of paired up. And what we'll do later is we'll actually test the sensor in the place where it will live in order to verify that it communicates to the hub correctly from its location. The thing is, you want to make sure that your sensor actually appears in the system before you were to go on and press another button on a sensor. So hear the beeps, see the sensor count go up in your app, and then you could click on another sensor if you wanted to add that in. So we'll leave pairing mode. We'll say all my devices are connected. Again, it will alert you to what you're looking for signal strength. And what you first see is that your sensor appears untested. And so that's going to force us to take the sensor to the location where we need to put it, actually test it out, and make sure that it works. So for the final step here, we'll click on the sensor itself. It alerts you, hey, you'll need a damp cloth. We've got that all ready to go. Maybe you just paired 5 sensors. It wants you to know which one you're actually talking to. So it kind of does this little beep and alerts you. So you can say, okay, I have the sensor. Here we'll give it a name. So maybe this is going in the bath. So we add that location name to the sensor. And now we need to test the sensor. So we're going to take the sensor and hold it a wet cloth to those 2 pins, just like I did earlier. And we want to hold this down until it starts to beep. I click, my sensor is beeping. And then I want to continue to hold this until I see success in the app. So now I see that check mark, and I can remove the water at that point. So sometimes if you move too quickly, you hear the beeping and remove the water before it successfully registers that it's detected a leak. So you want to make sure that you hold that water to the sensor until you see that success check mark, and then you can move on. You can say, decide your mode here. You can easily switch this back and forth. We'll stick with protect, and we'll just click finish here. And so now we're updating our hub, saying, hey, this sensor is going to be the bath sensor. It's in protect mode. It'll alert you to enable alert contacts, add people in there, just so you can kind of see quickly what that looks like. We'll go in there. You can enable text messages here. So we'll put in let's say we'll put in a phone number. And that will enable kind of your main contact, so me as I'm logged in here. And that'll get you your text message alerts in addition to the push notifications as well. If I want to add in additional alerts, I click on the little alerts icon at the bottom, and then it's very easy to add a contact. So we'll put in a name. Let's say we'll add me. And the one tricky thing about this screen is I cannot click or tap into the email address bar until I actually turn on the email notification button. So there's a little toggle button here for email notifications. That might drive you a little crazy if you're doing it for the first time. So toggle on emails, then you can click in and add your email in there. Same thing with text messages. You need to toggle that field on, then you can text and do some text entry in there. So if I go back to my home, there we go. It's all set up. Now my bath sensor is connected into my system. I've got my hub in there. If I want to rename my hub, it's easy enough. Just click on it. There's a rename in the upper right-hand corner. And you can put in there, let's say beach house or something like those. Now any notification that comes out from this hub will say, your LeakSmart system at beach house had a leak notification in the bath, or the bath sensor, and that kind of thing. So now we have a fully set up LeakSmart system. Any lingering questions out there? Comments? Good to go? All right. Well, thanks very much for your time.
Don't stay on, Amy. Don't go anywhere. No. Are you, this is your last slide, right?
This is it. Yeah, we're
perfect.
Good.
Yeah, we want to thank Amy for coming in here. Thank you guys for attending live here in person. Thank you for everybody online. Again, if you do have any questions, you can always contact Jackson Systems. You don't have to go. You can stay on. Oh, yeah, switch the slide. Yeah, that's right. If you call us at 888-652-9663, you'll always get somebody available. All these products are available on the Jackson Systems website. You can view them there. There's spec sheets, documents, if you have any questions on those, so please feel free to contact us. Also, if you did not get a chance to see the full thing, or if you want to share this video, this training video, to watch it later, this is also available on the Jackson Systems webpage under Contractor Resources, On-Demand Trainings. It will be there. We'll store it, and Amy, you will live on that website forever and ever. But let's give Amy a round of applause. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else for the audience?
I appreciate your time.
Oh, yes, there is a promotion. There's 10% off. There's 10% off any LeakSmart product. So take advantage. If you watch this training or you're here right now, take advantage of that 10% off. Look at that.
It's good stuff.
And it's good through all of September, I'm being told, chirped in my ear. Thank you. Thank you, Director. But unless you have anything else?
I'm good to go. Thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks for
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for attending. We'll see you next time.
Yay.